I'm Anabeth Guthrie, Chief of Communications here at the National Gallery of Art, the nation's collection of fine art, opened since 1941. We're here in the West Building, designed by John Russell Pope. I would say that the National Gallery of Art is so special to audiences near and far because it is based on a gift to the nation. So the works are held in public trust by us, but they're really for everyone. The experience is meant for everyone. The works range in medium and subject matter, and you can commune with one work of art or walk through an entire wing of one of the buildings and spend hours with your favorite painting. We're free of charge, 363 days a year, and you can come and go as you please. According to the art newspaper, in 2022, we were the most visited art museum in the U.S. It's modeled after the Pantheon, exactly, in Rome, and the rotunda is almost as wide as it is tall. So gallery number 1, and we're on the main floor, starts with the Trecento in Italian art history. It's really the beginning of the paintings and sculpture collection. And we continue through the galleries on this floor, on the main floor, which is organized by school. So the Italian works are together, Italian Trecento, Italian Quattrocento, High Renaissance. We move into Northern Renaissance and then Northern Baroque and Flemish. So the works are installed as they would probably be viewed. They're installed on travertine for the Italian and Northern Baroque and Flemish. They're in hardwood galleries. So we proudly, in our collection, have the only painting by Leonardo da Vinci in the Americas. It's called Ginevra da Benci, and it predates the Mona Lisa. It's a recto verso, so there's a beautiful message on the back of the painting about virtue and beauty. We have tours in 9 different languages. We offer about 1,500 free programs a year. We have a robust music department. It's been around since 1942. We've been offering free concerts since 1942. It was started as something free and fun for the GIs to participate in. We were so close to all the war offices here on the National Mall. This garden court is one of 2 garden courts. You might notice it's similar to the one at the Frick Collection in New York. John Russell Pope also designed the Frick Mansion, and there's one garden court centered in the building that's very elongated. We have 2. This is a purely neoclassical building, and we have 2 fountains in each garden court. Each has one from Versailles. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Night at the Museum, Battle of the Smithsonian, but in that movie, the little putti in each of the sculptures come alive and sing pop love tunes. It's very cute. Italian art continues behind all of these galleries and whips in. This is El Greco, so what we have are Northern Baroque galleries here, so Italian into French and more Italian. And that kind of ends our Northern Baroque tour here. And off of this garden court, we go into Northern Renaissance galleries. So Flemish, Dutch, French Renaissance, German. This is an incredible young Van Eyck, The Annunciation. Many works in this collection, in this room, are some of the earliest donations to the National Gallery. We have 4 founding benefactors, Lessing J. Rosenwald, Widener, Claesz, and Andrew Mellon. Then after that we have Chester Dale, who gave us many Impressionist works, about 300 works, and those can't travel. Part of the bequest, they're here. So we'll see some of those in the East Building. The first museums in the country to put every single work in the collection online, in the mid-90s. And with that is extensive provenance information of each work of art. We have an entire department that does all of that research. And we're very proud of that work. We were instrumental in something called the Washington Principles in the late 90s. An agreement was signed by all of the countries affected by the Holocaust to in earnest respond to claims, art loss claims, research them, and with due diligence, make every effort to return. Baroque, or Dutch art from the 17th century. We have the finest collection outside of Holland, and those examples range from beautiful still life genre paintings to tableau of the passing of life through a scene in a meal, beautiful landscapes, cityscapes. This is a favorite, Daniel in the Lion's Den. Can you count how many lions are in this painting by Rubens? Nobody ever gets it right. So we actually just purchased the Taza that is in this painting. It's not a replica, it's the actual Taza. So that is going to be on view soon. This is a work by Judith Leyster. She's one of the few women working in 17th century Holland, self-portrait. These galleries normally house our 17th and 18th century French and Spanish, like Goya is here, David, Napoleon portrait is here, then we go into Turner and British 17th, 18th century art. This is all Impressionism here. We have an impeccable Impressionist collection made from gifts from many different donors. We like to say we're a collection of collections. This is a room of Cézanne, boy with a red waistcoat, his gardener. Degas, dancer paintings, Gogh, and several Van Gogh here. This one was given to us by Pamela Harriman, the widow of the great Averell Harriman. It was owned by Averell and his first wife, Marie, and it was part of Pamela's bequest. You know, she was the ambassador to France when she passed away. One of the many self-portraits. But you see the architecture in this room is different. With the crown moldings, it's how the works may have been displayed. These are works by Degas and Cassatt. You know, they were friends. She's an American, but we hang her in the French school as we hang Van Gogh in the French school. It's a painting of one of her relatives by Cassatt. I think it's her uncle Eddy. So many works in our collection are planned gifts, bequests, or end-of-year gifts, or, you know, we know it for decades that someone will donate their, you know, one painting or hundreds of works of art, and it's a relationship we have with those donors. These two works kind of rival each other as the most purchased postcard in our history. Really, over time, you know, I think in the 50s and 60s, it you know, it was like this one or this one, this one or this one. So traveling exhibitions go here. These are called the Mellon Galleries after Paul Mellon, who was the son of Andrew Mellon, who presided over the opening in 1941. I think he was 34 years old. And so he was president of the National Gallery. He's really our first benefactor. I have all of the press, advertising, social media, marketing, and community outreach underneath me. We have a film program and a concert program. Jazz in the Garden is launching soon, and we are offering raffled tickets. Like it's a raffle system. And so we have to manage that with the ticketing team. So the email communication goes out correctly at the right time, communicating the right message. So that's really a quality control moment we have. This morning, we are opening a major exhibition in about a month of the work of Antonio Canova and its terracotta sculptures. So we have a month still left to do advanced promotion for that. Another person is working on an editorial team meeting and hosting that right now. So a little bit of everything. The challenging thing that puts the challenge on the beauty of every day is different, every day is beautiful, 20 plus years here, is that the external forces or external events that really disrupt our schedule throughout the week. For example, the attack on Degas. The challenges are opportunities, though. When you need a breather, you just take a walk inside. So there's always something to discover. I think the beauty of the job and beauty of working in an art museum is knowing that you're in the same space of a large team of people and colleagues that are trying to provide something beautiful and respite. And, you know, museums are about people, and art shows us what it means to be human. So we're showing people a piece of humanity, whether it's discovering something about the subject of a painting or a work of art, something about the artist, the donor, learning about how other people react to it, the history of how something was made, or the history of the work of art itself, the provenance. All of it's fascinating. All of it adds to our growth as people. And the agreement was that Congress would take care of salaries and the building and the lighting bill and, you know, funding us to be up and running day in and day out, and that's about 80% of our annual budget of $180 million is our annual working budget. But we knew we needed to grow, and so about 25 years in, the National Gallery of Art started to plan for what was next. So I&K worked with Carter Brown, our director at the time. They traveled all over Europe to look at museums and the idea of the house museum, and you know how to create a more modern museum with other functions like offices and a study center, because we have this thing called the Center for Advanced Study in Visual Arts. It's like a mini university here. And so we're really affecting the pipeline of the field, from programs through our education department with little kids to postdoc fellowships with PhD scholars. So this part of the expansion opened in 1976. And here you have these beautiful crystals that predate the Louvre Grand Pyramid by 10 years. It's what we call a Shadar fountain based on the angle. As far as cafes, we have 3 cafes inside the west and east building and 1 exterior cafe called the Pavilion Café in the Sculpture Garden. Light installation is by Leo Villareal. We commissioned it in 2009. It's 45,000 LED nodes on a binary code, so ones and zeros, and it's completely random. It is beloved. It might be our most photographed work of art outside of Ginevra de Benci. But before we installed it, it was just a really dark tunnel. And you can imagine what it was like before this installation, as being on this long dark tunnel, and then you enter the east building with this like burst of light. So this expansion opened in 1978, June of 1978, and just like FDR presided over the 1941 opening of the West Building, Jimmy Carter presided over the opening of this building. So this is also pink Fantasia marble, quarried from Tennessee. The shape is based on the trapezoidal plot of land that where we are. which is, as you know, includes a parallelogram and an isosceles triangle. So that's why you see isosceles triangles everywhere in the building, and parallelograms, of course. The skylight is 16 tetrahedrons, which we just replaced as part of our master facilities plan of regular renovations to the building. The concourse level where we are is about 18,000 square feet of traveling exhibition space, as well as the cafe and an auditorium that seats 500. Several of the works of art you see in the space were commissioned for this space. Most notably, the Alexander Calder mobile, which is about 900 pounds. It's made about like a honeycomb aluminum, so it's actually not as heavy as it maybe could have been. He died before it was completed and before it was installed, so he never saw this here, but was plotting and designing with several other artists who were commissioned for the anchor works for the opening. The architectural elements include these beautiful stainless steel railings, which you see, and glass, which you see everywhere on every floor. What's not marble is painted concrete, and the paint includes ground up dust from the marble, so it matches. Do you see? This is all painted with ground up pieces of the marble. The East Building houses the modern and contemporary art collection of the National Gallery of Art, as well as the majority of staff offices and 500,000 volume library, art history library. You just need to make an appointment on our website. Under the research tab, there's something called Make an Appointment, and you fill out a form and say when you're going to be here, and the hours are Monday through Friday, I think 11 to 4, and you say what you need and when. This work by Andy Goldsworthy, you see, is made of Virginia slate. It's meant to evoke the domes of Washington, and he created it over a 5-month period with 7 champion wallers from the UK. He's a Scottish artist. We completed one major phase of the master facilities plan where we renovated the north side of the East Building, which contains most of the art. So we upgraded the life safety elements of traversing the building. We added a different flooring to match the West Building. It's quarter-sawn fumed oak, and you'll see it upstairs. We updated the HVAC systems and really just upgraded and for the future, because the building was 40 years old at that time. And with another $30 million of private money, we expanded to the roof, and we found 12,000 more square feet of space for art, which is really hard to do in a building on the National Mall. So we always knew we needed a little bit more space, and we consulted Mr. Pei in 2007, and he said, remember, the stairwell shafts are there, right? So instead of having just a 2-story insular spiral staircase, we went down into the basement and up into the roof level, the tower level, and added the stairs to hug the incredible shape that is created by all of the multiple isosceles triangles. So we quarried new marble, and we added the same architecture, the same vocabulary of the architecture throughout the building, so you really can't tell that you're in a 2013 to 2016 space or a 1978 space. This used to be roof. So Perry Chen, the architect Perry Chen, who was a longtime colleague of I.M. Pei, designed and executed all of this for us with Hartman Cox Architects. So the expansion was $30 million, and the renovation was $39 million of federal funds. Created over about 8 years, just white and black paint and the natural color of the canvas, and with orange in the canto. These are the ley lights I spoke about. So above that is the skylight, and the ley light just enables you to view art in natural light, but protected from the sun. Rothko is an anchor in our collection. We have the world's largest public collection of work by Mark Rothko with 1,050 objects. Most of them are works on paper, and they were gifted to us by the Mark Rothko Foundation in 1986. Alexander Calder space. It's about 45 works, half of which are on long-term loan from the foundation, the Calder Foundation. There are his mobiles, his stabiles, and other works of art. That little red one over there, Cheval Rouge, which we have the larger one in the sculpture garden. This is the largest installation of Calder works anywhere. We have a few Warhols here, Jasper Johns, Roy Lichtenstein, Faith Ringgold. This is a great new acquisition called The Flag is Bleeding. It's in a series. This is a Jean-Quic de C. Smith, Target. She's an incredible elder indigenous artist. Jackson Pollock's Lavender Mist. Joan Miro's The Farm. If you look at this work and this other Miro, he is using some of the same language in the works, but one is completely abstract and this is not. This is Family Farm in Spain, and this painting was owned by Hemingway. And when he died, of course, it went to his last wife, Mary. It hung in their home in Cuba. And in the Finca Villa in Cuba right now, there's a big faded poster, not the right size even, hanging there. It's a house. His house is on the way into town from the airport in Havana, and she left it to us. Hay was very concerned with creating a building that spoke to that building. It's truly on an axis, and it's this incredible symmetry of experience. We have this third space here, right? Work, home, third space. So it's kind of this atrium for gathering. We have the grand rotunda of the West Building, and then in our garden, where we're going next, we have that gathering place around the fountain. And on the map, they're completely in line. They're on an axis. So the experience is unified. For a long time, the Park Service managed the garden and the ice rink. And in the 80s, Paul Mellon really pushed us and helped us create a plan to take this over. So in the 90s, we hired Lori Olin to design the garden around it. We planted old growth trees. A few of them on our property are actually just as old as some on the Smithsonian's Natural History property in the same northern space. So we're testing that. They're from the 1880s, the elms. So that's kind of cool. So we have horticulture work happening all over the place. This is a Pavilion Café. We have 21 works of art in the sculpture, most of which you should not touch. And a team dedicated to managing specifically this garden. From November to March, it's an ice rink. It's a skating school and ice rink. And then from April to October, fountain is on. And every Friday night from May to July, we have a jazz concert or a genre of jazz related to jazz, free concert in the garden. So we're now standing in our sculpture galleries, which were originally the original offices of the National Gallery of Art. 2003, we unveiled what you see now. We renovated the space to find more room for our sculptures, which we have several hundred, to find a most appropriate space for our collection of Rodin, Degas, and many others. We have the entire collection of Degas waxes, 74 works, purchased by Paul Mellon and given to the National Gallery of Art, including the beloved Little Dancer, age 14, which is the only sculpture that Degas exhibited in his lifetime during World War II. When you've seen Monuments Men, right? So the Roberts Commission was headquartered here. So that famous meeting, the famous scene in the beginning of the movie where they're all meeting behind closed doors to decide how to preserve monuments and cultural sites, and for the Allies not to bomb these cultural sites, is really happening here. So David Finley, our first director, was on the Roberts Commission, and we have all of those records and can be studied and viewed through our Make an Appointment program. It's by Dave the Poet. It's the only work in our collection made by an artist who was enslaved. He was a poet, which was not legal at the time for him to be able to read and write, but he did. His owners encouraged and allowed that. And this is one of the largest examples of his work. So just other works of decorative arts in the collection. This is this famous chalice. We have the chalice of Abbot Suger. Collection. It's a collection of American furniture and decorative arts given to us by Linda Kaufman in 2011. There's nothing like this for hundreds of miles. The staterooms at the State Department have very similar works, but those are by appointment only and not open to the public. So this is the only installation like this open to the public in the region. She has a very close relationship with the National Gallery of Art and very generous donor over decades. So this is open 363 days a year, just like the two museum buildings, designed by Laurie Olin, the great landscape architect, designer. He also designed the grounds of the Barnes Foundation in Philadelphia, many other things. We opened in 1999, ribbon cut by Hillary Clinton. Let's see, 6.1 acres. The plantings are year-round. There are 21 works of art. We're the only museum in Washington that does not host outside events, so we're not for rent. Any party we have is for the public or for our audiences, or it's a private event for an exhibition celebration. And it's run by Guest Services, Inc., which is a great catering and event outdoor sports management company headquartered in Virginia. And I would say in the summer, the sangria is the favorite. So there's always something to do here. We saw a lot of, I would say, new visitors to the museum. This was the first site we opened after COVID, was the garden. We opened the garden in May of 2020. And we were doing a survey at that time, and we saw that 40% of our visitors were new to our brand, to our campus. And the survey that we most recently did a few months ago, it's 60%. The little triangular park across the street, that is the only monument to Andrew Mellon. And he was, the Secretary of the Treasury for 3 presidents, and this whole federal triangle is his design. He is the conceptual architect of that. So this is a monument to him, from his longtime friends and supporters in honor of his contribution. And we took that over in 2013. The fountain had not worked for decades. And so we took it over, and with a donation, a $3 million donation from the R.K. Mellon Trust or Foundation, renovated that. It's the largest all bronze basins fountain in the U.S. And there's a whole room underneath. Like, it's pretty fantastic. Anyway, there's a beautiful bench dedicated to Andrew Mellon